This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. Huge energy fluctuations kept coming from the horizon, showing the tragic and shocking situation of the battle. Many of the martial honors were hit by the aftershock and were unlucky enough to turn into ashes. Even those who were slightly luckier were seriously injured, making their original injuries worse. It was even more difficult for them to resist the invasion of the demonic chi. Then, a large number of martial honors were demonized and rushed into the battlefield. Kill all these demonized people. A sharp look flashed in Suyu's eyes. At this moment, there was no room for mercy. A trace of killing intent flashed in the eyes of one of the martial sovereigns. The sword in his hand slashed out a sword light, and several demonized martial venerables suddenly exploded into demonic chi that filled the sky. It kept rolling and was about to condense into demons. Humph. The martial emperor snorted and performed several sword techniques again. One by one, he slashed out and killed all the demons, turning them into demonic chi. This scene made the martial supremes, who were still struggling to resist the invasion of the demonic chi, feel a chill in their hearts. Although they understood that being killed after being possessed by the demonic chi was the best situation, it was still difficult for them to accept this scene. No matter who it is, Suyu said, if you are demonized, kill them immediately. I am no exception. Everyone's heart trembled, and they began to kill even more desperately. No one wanted to become a submissive slave, and even die without dignity. In the battle formation, Di Jun was besieged by everyone and was at a disadvantage. He was overwhelmed and in danger. However, his body was made of demonic chi, so he didn't die after being pierced by the Emperor Chi. He just lost a lot of energy. The crocodile also dodged with him, and it was constantly growling. Call your sister. Be more serious. Di Jun was furious. He cast a demonic seal in the air and slapped it on the crocodile. A trace of fear appeared in the crocodile's eyes. When the demonic seal hit its body, it immediately turned into astral winds and dissipated. The astral winds howled in the battle ring. Di Jun clenched his 5 fingers and the astral winds immediately rotated, protecting him in the middle. Then, Di Jun's hands continued to form seals, and black demonic seals entered the astral winds one after another. A wild roar came from the wind. It's an elemental monster. No wonder it's so strange and difficult to deal with. A martial sovereign brandished his sword and rushed forward, shouting, the Emperor Chi of the 9 heavens is enough to suppress all demons, ghosts, and monsters. Even if it's an elemental manifestation, it can't escape the suppression. Suyu's expression darkened and he suddenly shouted, be careful. However, it was too late. The martial emperor's sword chi had already rushed into the astral wind, intending to break it and hurt Di Jun. Humph, ignorant. Di Jun sneered. The astral wind suddenly condensed into a crocodile's head. It opened its mouth wide and swallowed the martial sovereign in an instant. The speed of the astral winds gradually slowed down, and a dried corpse was thrown out from it. It was the martial sovereign's body from earlier. It had been weathered away, and it looked as if it had been there for 10,000 years. Everyone's face fell and they looked horrified. The martial sovereign had the 9 heavens Emperor Chi protecting him, and ordinary elemental power could not hurt him at all. However, the astral wind had penetrated his body and turned him into a dried corpse. At this moment, the primordial squall calmed down and a huge monster appeared beside Di Jun. It had a demonized body with 3 heads and 6 arms. However, all 3 of its heads were crocodile heads. It was shaking its head as if it was very dissatisfied with its appearance. His 6 arms were also rubbing their palms together. One of them was holding the sword of the martial supreme from earlier, and he was hacking and slashing with it. Suyu and the others' expressions changed. This monster looked like a troublesome thorn, completely different from the obedient crocodile from before. Roar! The crocodile monster instantly charged toward the nearest martial supreme. Its head instantly enlarged by several times and it opened its mouth to bite down. That martial sovereign was suddenly startled. Both his hands instantly formed a seal, forming a golden seal that flickered with golden light in front of him. Various patterns continuously appeared on it as he blasted it over, Ultimate Flux Overlord Seal. Boom. The crocodile's huge head was blown off, leaving only 2 heads. The martial sovereign was overjoyed, and his heart that had been in his throat finally relaxed. He did not seem to be as difficult to deal with as he had expected. Hoo. All of a sudden, tiny gusts of wind began to blow around him, forming hair-thin strands of wind that instantly sliced toward the center. The martial sovereign was shocked. He tried to resist it with his chi, only to find that the sky was filled with these tiny wind threads. They were like countless insects chirping. They cut through his emperor chi defense and came to him. At the same time, the crocodile monster with only 2 heads left raised its sword and slashed down. Its other hand clenched into a fist and punched out, forming a black demonic fist in the air that whizzed down. Fang Zhao. The other martial supreme who knew him was shocked. He roared and rushed forward, but it was too late. All of the crocodile monster's actions were completed in the instant it exploded its head. The martial supreme's heart instantly sank, and his defensive power was shattered. The demonic fist smashed into his body and jolted into his body, causing great damage and spreading. The crocodile didn't continue to attack after its punch. Instead, the astral wind in the air blew over again and condensed into a complete crocodile head. It pressed on its neck and turned back into 3 heads. Fang Zhao, you're so silly. The martial sovereign hurried forward and asked with concern. I'm fine. Fang Zhao interrupted him directly. The punch didn't seem to be a big deal, and he sounded quite dispirited. Phew, you scared me to death. If there's nothing, I'll run away. The martial sovereign heaved a sigh of relief. Before he could finish speaking, Fang Zhao's figure flashed before him and he punched out. Caught off guard, his chest was broken and a huge force came out from his back. His entire upper body was almost shattered. The sound of the explosion reverberated in everyone's heart. They were all greatly shocked and revealed a look of horror. Fang Zhao kicked the martial emperor down from the air. Fang Zhao's appearance was revealed to everyone. His black eyes and skin covered with black patterns were completely demonized. How long had it been since the crocodile transformed into a crocodile monster? 2 martial sovereigns had been killed, and one of them had even become an enemy with a huge increase in strength. This swan and I. The rest of the people all felt their throats dry and their palms were sweating. Greetings, Master. Thank you, Master, for bestowing me with endless magic power. Fang Zhao knelt down in front of Di Jun, his face full of excitement. Di Jun laughed and said, Kill them. Kill them all. If you don't die, I'll grant you the honor of being my food. Yes. Fang Zhao was overjoyed, as if becoming food was a supreme honor. He suddenly rushed toward Suyu and the others. He didn't care how many people there were, and he was determined to blow up the blockhouse to block the muzzle. Suyu's expression was extremely ugly as he ordered, "The 5 people from UNC will use the Hinayana Heavenly Ultimate Formation with me to suppress this demon. The rest of you will deal with this demonized martial emperor and the giant crocodile monster." Everyone received the order and split up their work. The battlefield expanded in an instant. Suyu took the lead and rushed directly to Di Jun with 5 people. His hands continued to form seals, and the entire sky began to change. Hold him back and give me some time. Suyu shouted, and a white flag appeared in his hand. He waved it in the air, and it turned into 9 colored flags. One by one, they shot into the sky and settled in 9 positions. They continued to grow bigger and waved in the face of the surging devil chi. Di Jun's body trembled. After the 9-colored flag was located, he felt an inexplicable restlessness, as if some kind of rule power was surging. He was furious. He instantly turned into a beam of demonic light and rushed towards one of the flags. He gathered his demonic palm and wanted to break this formation. Demon, you're looking for death. A martial emperor from the UNC division slashed his sword and snorted, a sword that pierces the sun and flows through hundreds of rivers, shaking the four seas and ice rivers. It turned into an ice-cold light, and the sword light actually converged into the shape of a water bird. It fluttered as if it was about to fly, and condensed in the air. It was actually an unparalleled sword chi, and the sword left no trace, slashing the demonic palms that filled the sky. A sword that doesn't move is like a mountain, a sword that doesn't flow is like 1,000 miles, and it can exist forever. With a cold groan and a flash of purple light, a purple-robed old man thrust his long sword out. It instantly turned into 3 infinite sword wills. The purple light cut through the demonic cloud and covered Dijun, killing him with sword chi. Dijun's body was crushed into pieces in an instant. He turned into demonic chi and escaped. In the distance, he condensed into a physical form with a look of shock and anger in his eyes. The people before him were not only a little stronger than the martial sovereigns who had attacked him earlier, but they were also able to hurt his body. The peacock unleashes its tail, and the sun is revealed. A martial emperor chanted softly. A figure flashed and a round plate suddenly appeared above Dijun. It was emitting divine light spots like a sun and a wheel. Then, it suddenly struck down. Dijun's face darkened. He was livid with anger. He stomped his feet in the air and rushed toward the jade plate. His hands kept forming all kinds of seals, which turned into a demonic shadow and hit the jade plate. A powerful aura burst out, and 2 spiritual pressures of different colors spread. Bang! The jade plate trembled and was pushed back. The martial sovereign who was hiding in the dark revealed his true appearance and let out a muffled groan. He had suffered internal injuries. Although this demon is strong, it's not as strong as we imagined. If we work together, we might not need the chief's Hinayana heavenly death formation to kill this demon. The purple-robed old man stood still with his sword in hand. He waved his purple sword and stabbed forward again. The martial sovereign who had transformed into a white bird also raised his sword again. The sword momentum was like 100 rivers returning to the sea, endless and crossing the sky. The martial sovereign who was using the jade plate took a deep breath again. The jade plate was like a sun and a wheel, and it was like a peacock spreading its tail as it attacked. There were 2 other people who quietly stood guard beside Suyu, protecting him in order to prevent any disturbances when he was setting up the array. Dijun's expression changed drastically, and a ruthless look appeared on his face. His eyes were filled with killing intent. He raised his right hand, and the ancient pagoda slowly emerged from his palm. It grew larger, and an indescribable ancient charm shook out, as if it was telling the desolation of the endless years. What is this? Everyone instantly felt an indescribable sense of danger. Even the 2 martial emperor powerhouses who were guarding Suyu's side had a change in expression. They suddenly attacked in shock. Myriad palm strikes, 1 chi of heaven and earth. Heaven shaking divine halberd. The 2 guardians also exploded with powerful auras. They turned into 2 rays of light and attacked the ancient pagoda at the same time. The 5 of them joined forces and covered the sky. Their powerful aura spread far and wide, causing the martial emperors who were surrounding the crocodile to tremble in fear. Dijun's expression changed drastically. The 5 auras were enough to crush his body and even suppress him. In his anger, countless demonic chi gushed out of his body and poured into the ancient pagoda. A ray of light shot out and the power of the world was activated. Tens of thousands of divine lights flew up. Boundless heaven and earth, boundless nature, true fiend magic seal. Let's go. Dijun shouted suddenly. His real body transformed into his Dharma Laksana with 3 heads and 6 arms. His 6 arms made hand seals at the same time, and countless incantations were sent into the ancient tower. The power of the world began to circulate. 5 extremely powerful attacks rushed into the power of the world. Immediately, he felt his vital chi freeze. The level 9 Emperor chi that could break through everything also slowed down. The 5 9th tier profound weapons gave off a strong tremor, piercing people's eardrums. Blood started to flow out of their blowhole. What's going on? What is the origin of this ancient pagoda? The purple-robed old man's face turned pale. He suddenly poured another mouthful of vital qi into the sword in horror, suppressing the trembling in fear. The sword qi spread out in the world power. Boom. A huge force exploded, and the purple-robed old man spat out a large mouthful of blood and was sent flying. The other four gritted their teeth and fought with all their might against the ancient pagoda. The power of the purple-robed elder's attack caused the power in the ancient god battlefield to become chaotic and lose its balance. It suddenly shrank and then expanded again in an instant. Boom, boom, boom. The four figures were sent flying one by one, and their blood hung in the sky. Di Jun's face turned ugly and ferocious. The battlefield of the ancient gods had returned to his hands before it had even fully developed, and his spiritual qi had been greatly reduced. This caused his heart to ache. This profound-level weapon was already severely damaged, and every time it was used, it would be consumed. If it wasn't for the fact that the demonic qi in this place was so strong that he could better drive the pagoda, he would not have been willing to take it out. Sure, Li. A series of strange words came out of Di Jun's mouth. The battlefield of the ancient gods was suspended beside him. His 6 arms began to make hand seals at the same time. The demonic qi in his body began to strengthen gradually with the spell. It seemed to have absorbed endless power from a distance and was rising bit by bit. Not good, this demon's power seems to be endless. The purple-robed elder dragged his heavily injured body over with a look of shock on his face. The other 4 people also flew back, all of them with blood at the corner of their mouths and pale faces. It was as if the 9th-tier profound armaments in their hands had met their nemesis. Under that attack, they were at a disadvantage and had lost all their spiritual energy. It's indeed a magic power extraction technique. Su Yu's face darkened and he said coldly, there is indeed an endless stream of demonic qi entering the 9 skies and 10 lands. However, my Hinayana heavenly ultimate formation can seal the 6 paths and 5 elements and completely isolate us from the outside world. He pointed his finger in the air, and the 9 flags on the coordinates began to spin. Waves of strange power spread out, and the world seemed to change. The 5 UNC members were overjoyed, and one of them praised, Lord Su Yu's Hinayana heavenly ultimate formation is famous across the continent. I'm afraid no one can break it except for the light of the throne. As expected, Di Jun's expression changed and he opened his eyes in horror. In the depths of this world, he was isolated from the demonic source of the outside world. Even the connection between Dijia and his demonic source had been cut off. Die, devil. Su Yu's formation had been completed. Under his control, the 9 flags began to move. There were strange patterns carved on them that reflected each other and connected into one. Under the resonance of the 9 flags, a crack suddenly appeared in the formation, dispersing the demonic clouds. A bright light slowly shone in, and along with the light, an awe-inspiring heavenly might shook everyone's heart. Su Yu's expression was grave. His Hinayana heavenly ultimate formation was extremely powerful and was his strongest trump card. Not only was it an extremely powerful defensive formation, but it could also be used as a sealing formation. Furthermore, it contained an apocalyptic killer move heavenly light cloud shadow. It conformed to the laws of the heavenly Tao and was enough to obliterate everything. Yunxiao's figure suddenly appeared in his mind. When the mysterious young man saw him, he recited a poem and directly pointed out his trump card, then tried to persuade him to fight the demon. Perhaps at that time, the young man had realized that only his rule of the heavenly Tao could kill the existence in front of him. Su Yu's heart trembled, and he could not help but speculate about Yunxiao. But at this moment, he had no time to think too much. He focused all his attention on the array and carefully guided the light to fall. Di Jun's heart was filled with horror. He looked up at the light in the sky and felt that he was about to be destroyed. This feeling made him feel very absurd. He was the immortal demon master. How could he die? A sense of anger and humiliation rose in his heart. With a loud shout, he no longer cared about the ancient god battlefield in his heart. He activated it with all his might, and pieces of territory began to spread from the surroundings of the ancient tower. It was as if a world was emerging in front of everyone's eyes, like an ingenious craftsman building an exquisite model of the world. The 6 of them were so shocked that their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. They had never seen such a profound level weapon that could transform the heaven and earth. They could only find some clues in legends and historical records. Especially Suyu, who was a 9th-tier great alchemist and had a deep understanding of profound artifacts. After a brief daze, he understood and cried out in horror, a supreme-grade profound-level weapon. Oh my god, what did I just see? It's actually a supreme-grade profound-level weapon. The other 5 people were also greatly shocked. Each and every one of them was completely stunned. Suddenly, they recalled the shiver when their own 9th-tier profound weapon had collided with the strange force around the ancient tower and finally understood what had happened. A supreme-grade profound-level weapon. And not Noah's ship. This is a historical moment. Suyu was extremely excited. At this moment, he was unable to focus his mind and spirit. The divine light that descended became a little unstable, which gave him a shock. He knew that this was not the time to be distracted. The other party had a legendary transcendent-grade profound-level weapon. Suyu, who was originally full of confidence, suddenly became a little unconfident. He did not dare to split himself up again and focused all his attention on controlling the array. Damn you scum! Myriad forms, 4 poles as one, 10,000 demons as one. Dijun did not dare to hold back any longer. He poured all his power into the ancient tower. The battlefield of the ancient gods was fully developed. Although it was incomplete, the Demon Master Emperor and the profound-level weapon had long been won. Although Dijun was only a part of his body, he still had the power to control it. A powerful and suffocating power was born, causing the 9 flags to tremble as if they were about to be shaken out of the coordinates. Everyone, help me! Suyu's face turned pale. The power of the battlefield of the ancient gods made his Hinayana heavenly ultimate formation tremble and suppress. This was a situation that he had never encountered before. Even if a peak martial supreme was trapped in his formation, it would not be easy to escape. The 5 of them were shocked as they injected their energy into the 9 array flags to help them resist the power of the transcendent-grade profound-level weapon. Stabilize the chi and change the shape, the light of the sky and the shadow of the clouds, all things return to the ruins, kill the devil. Suyu exerted the power of the array to the extreme, and the beam of light finally fell directly into the ancient pagoda. The world fell silent for a moment, as if there was no sound at all. The entire world was silent and empty. Then, there was a loud explosion. The sky and earth cracked, and a huge energy swept out. The 9 array flags were instantly shaken out and flew in all directions. Suyu, Yuan-si, and the other 6 were all swallowed by the energy. In the distance, Fang Zhao had already been killed. Everyone was still fighting with the giant crocodile when they suddenly trembled. Everyone looked over in shock and saw a huge force sweeping them all in. The devil cloud world suddenly became dazzling, and light shone for thousands of miles. The bright light lasted for a long time. Yunxiao, who was rushing over from a distance, suddenly stopped and looked at each other in horror as he muttered, "This dense light is Suyu's heaven light cloud shadow. Has he finally used this killer move? Can you kill Dijun?" The light was not only dazzling, but it also brought a strong shock to the soul. Yunxiao's face was solemn. Although Suyu was famous for his array skills, he was also a master on the heaven and earth power chart. If it were not for the fact that his Hinayana heavenly death array was too slow to play its role in the battle between the two, even if he could not enter the top 10, he would at least be in the top 20. Can it be killed? You must be joking. The demonic dragon's cold voice was heard. If he could kill a demon at this level, then were all those powerful beings from a long time ago fools? Was there a need to dismember his body and then suppress him one by one with a supreme grade profound level weapon? This level of power is at most similar to that skeleton's attack. Yunxiao frowned and snorted. Times have changed. The world has changed as well. These demons had been suppressed for a long time and might have been weakened beyond recognition. Perhaps the almighty experts from long ago suppressed them so that they could be exterminated today. Humph. The evil dragon snorted and said disdainfully, "Do you even believe that?" Yunxiao was taken aback, and then he smiled wryly. Indeed, even he himself did not believe this. In any case, the demon who owns the ancient pagoda will be seriously injured by this blow. At worst, I'll put him into the divine realm tablet and suppress him forever. After saying that, Yunxiao flew forward at a high speed. After the shocking blow, no one could be seen in the sky.